Well, howdy there, Internet students. This is Mr. Hermanson. We're going to do lesson 1.1e today. Basically, it's learning how to use inequalities, less than, greater than, that kind of stuff. So let's start with 1 and 2 here. I'm just going to let you do that, and then you can see my choices. But pause here and go ahead and do that. So those are my choices, numbers less than -7 and numbers greater than -7. Well, that's what these signs mean right here. If it's pointing to the right, it's greater than. If it's pointing to the left, it's less than. If it has a line underneath, that means it can be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So we want three numbers that are less than. Remember, this means less than. If you're not sure, go back over here and look. Less than -2. That would be like numbers that are more negative than -2, like -3, -4, -5, and so on. Remember, you could also do like decimal numbers like -10.2 or -9 2/3. Those are all less than -2. Greater than -2 would be like -1, so numbers to the right of -2 on the number line. 0, and then anything positive like 10, 20, 30, 40, a million, those kinds. All right. Now, if it says less than or equal to -7, and that would be this sign, I'll just say X for my numbers that I want to pick, less than or equal to -7. Now, equal would include -7. We could have -7 here. To be less than, you need it to be more negative, like -10 or -500. Three numbers that are greater than or equal to -7, and that would be like this one. And that would be numbers that are to the right of -7, like -5. But since it says equal, we could also put -7. Surely any positive number would work, like 100. All right, so go ahead, you try that here. Pick some, pause, and pick some numbers that would. Those were my choices. So let's just keep in mind using a number line where we start with negatives and we end up in positives. Any number that is to the right of another number is going to be greater. So definitely 3 is greater than -2 because it's situated to the right. Likewise, -3 is less than -2. All right? So less than, the dog always faces the bigger treat and opens his mouth to it. So you know that this number is less than this number. So to get the right sign, the dog will always face the bigger treat, right? And open his mouth to it. So if we have 3 and say -18, the dog would want this, so it would look like that. All right? All right. So to graph these inequalities, this open circle will mean either less than or greater than. The solid dot, in order to show that the number that is right on that boundary point could be true, we're going to use a solid dot for that. So to graph this inequality, first we're going to find 5 on the number line. We're going to look at the sign. If it has an equal sign, we're going to put a solid dot. If it doesn't have an equal sign, we're going to put an open dot at 5. And then we're going to make sure we go the right way. Okay, we want numbers that are less than 5. That would be like this number and this number and this number, right? So the way we're going to show that is we're just going to color in the spaces where all the numbers are and darken it enough so that we can see that part of the graph that we want. Okay, so greater than 5, we would find 5 again. That's going to be an open circle. And greater than means this way. So we're going to color in this way, like that. Greater than -5. That would be an open circle, and numbers greater than -5 are like -3, 2, 8. These are all bigger, so we want to color in all the numbers that are greater. Now remember, these include decimals and fractions also. Maybe I should use my color pen. That would work better. Make it a little thicker. All right. So on the next one, we want less than -5. So we're going to find -5 right there. Now I don't want this thick line. So -5 is going to be an open circle, like that. And less than -5, that would be like -10 here, -8. All these numbers are less, so we're going to color in that way. Just cover them up. And the reason we're covering them up is because like numbers like -8.5 are included in numbers that are less than -5. Okay, less than or equal to 5. We're going to find 5. And we're going to put a solid dot because it could equal 5, and that solid dot shows us that 5 is good. Now less than 5 are numbers like 0, -2, -5. So we will do all of these. Maybe I can use my highlighter pen. See if that works better. And then I can just make a nice solid line from there, highlighting all the numbers that make that true. Okay. All right. That didn't work so good. Anyway, let's try the next one. Greater than or equal to 5. So find 5 and solid circle. And then greater than or equal to 5, that would be like 7, 9, 10. So our line is going to go this way. I'm going to switch back to this pen so we can make our nice solid dot there. All right, you try the last two, see if you got this, and you can check back and see if you got them right. If you did those right on the greater than one, you should have your colored in area going this way, and you should have a solid dot and a color going this way for the less than. So what number would you put in each blank to make that sum of 0? When you add any number plus its opposite, so when you add opposite plus opposite, you always get 0. So the opposite of 3 is -3. The opposite of -7.2 is +7.2. And 0 is its own opposite. Okay, so looking at what we just wrote up there, go ahead and answer 20A, 20B, and 20C. Good time to pause. Okay, so we should have learned that you want to add the opposite. All right, so a sum of less than 0 can be shown by an inequality like this. So -6 plus x, or -6 plus some number is less than 0. Well, we know that if we add 6, it'll equal 0. So we're going to think about that on this line. If we add 6, so let's just put this in here for just a second. Now it equals 0. So let's start there at 6. Now, if we want to add to -6, the number, we don't want it to equal 0. We want the number to be less than 0. So let's just put an open circle there for now. But if we would add numbers that are smaller than 6, like 5 or 4, then we're going to be getting numbers less than 0 because we know adding 6 would get us to 0. So those are numbers this way. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill that in. We know any of these will do that. Okay, and we can answer this question. Any number, the missing number, let's just use x for that, has to be less than 6. All right, so let's try that again. So negative 4 plus 3, if we added 4.3, it would equal 0. So 4.3 is about right there, and I'm going to put an open circle. If we add any number less than that, like 0 to that, then it will be less than 0. So that's all of these numbers. So our missing numbers could be any number, and I'm using x for any number, less than 4.3, and we would be less than 0. So I'm going to let you try one. Go ahead and do the last couple here and see what you come up with. Make the graphs for those answers. So your graph should look something like that. All right, so that's a lesson for today on inequalities. You can fill this in if you'd like. And then you can go ahead and start your 1.1e homework. We'll talk to you soon.